let's fly to Innsbruck, a world-famous airport located in the heart of the Alps. Airline pilots are only allowed to fly here with special simulator training, mainly due to the steep terrain surrounding the airport. Today, we will fly visually from St. Gallen to Innsbruck, discovering the amazing landscape as we do. Are you ready to conquer the Alps? Let's go! Welcome to the final instructor-led lesson of the virtual private pilot's license course with Navigraph Academy. Today we will put it all together. Our required skills will be put to the test. Our challenging navigation flight to Innsbruck will require us to bring your best aviating skills and navigation expertise in order to bring us safely to our destination. Next time you will be conducting your solo navigation flight to Zurich. So listen carefully today and you'll be fully ready to complete your virtual private pilot's license in no time. We'll start by planning our route in Navigraph Charts, and I will let you in on a few more secrets with regards to the functionality of the app. Once that is done, Jason will join in and discuss the route in detail. Today we'll have a specific focus on mountain flying safety and skills. It will be challenging, rewarding, and a whole lot of fun. So let's go. Innsbruck is located around 100 miles west-southwest of St. Gallen. It is the capital of the Austrian state of Tyrol and a popular winter sports location. Located inside the Inn Valley and situated along the Inn River running along the valley floor, Innsbruck is a magnificent city to visit, be it summer or winter. The airport is located just a couple of miles from the city center, and it offers every visiting pilot a unique challenge. Closely surrounded by mountains that stretches up to 10,000 feet above sea level and almost 8,000 feet above the airport, you must take time to plan your arrival properly. Let's get started. We'll begin by preparing our route out of St. Gallen. Make sure you have set up your chart the way you like it. Last time we did decide to switch off the airspace and the navigation map layers. I will do the same today, like this. Heading out of St. Gallen, we'll use runway 10 today. Let's right-click and add waypoints at the end of the downwind and at the end of the crosswind leg. Zooming out slightly, we'll then head to point Echo or point east. Looking further ahead, we can see the Alps to the south of our route. The figure here denotes the minimum safe altitude, or MSA, in the area in hundreds of feet. This means that if we were to overfly the Alps, we would have to be at almost 14,000 feet not to hit any mountains. But this is way too high for us today, and in real life such an altitude would require the use of oxygen as well. So instead, a better solution is to skirt along the northern edge of the Alps until we find a suitable valley to follow down into Innsbruck. So first, let's start heading eastbound. This lake over here looks great as a first waypoint. Let's pick the southern edge of the lake as the target. I'll add my waypoint. Here's a trick. The waypoints are all listed at the top of the screen in the so-called route pill section. Right now, all of our waypoints are named by the coordinates of the points, and this is not so easy to remember. We can make it more intuitive by giving them proper names. Hover and click on the route pill options menu, and then select Create User Waypoint. We can now name the waypoint to whatever we want. I kind of think this lake looks somewhat like a whale, so let's call it Whale Lake. You can select whether you want to save the waypoint for this route only, or if you would like to be able to reuse it in future flights. If you decide to reuse it for future flights, the waypoint becomes global. I'll select Flight Only this time. Okay, let's keep planning. We are looking further east. Our next waypoint could be the large lake over here, called Lake Forgense. Let's pick the southern tip of the lake as our waypoint. However, the forested areas down here have quite high terrain. We can see that we'll cross right over it. So let's try to fly around this to the north. I kind of like these two small lakes. They're looking like a pair of eggs, so let's pick them. Click, hold, and drag to add an intermediate waypoint. Alright, now we're getting into the higher terrain portion of the flight. Zooming out, we can see Innsbruck down here. We can also see a perfect path to follow down into the Inn Valley. Just north of our valley, we find a lake called Lake Wachensee. This is a good target for us. Let's add a waypoint on the southern tip. However, zooming in on our route, we can see that we are again passing close to some mountain peaks sitting right here. And they are pretty high, almost 7,000 feet for the tallest ones. It'd be nice to add a waypoint to pass in between the peaks. I'm sure the view will be amazing, but we should also stay clear of those high tops. Let's add another intermediate point here and call it Twin Peaks. Here comes the fun part. Let's head into the Alps. At Innsbruck, several visual flying points assist us in approaching the airport. This is all necessary as the airport lies deep inside the tight Inn Valley. For us today, the first approach point is called November 1. After that, we'll head to November 2, followed by Whiskey 2, India, and as we are landing on runway 26 today, we can go all the way out to Mike 3, located at the end of the downwind. From there, we'll turn base for landing. Great, this is a solid plan. Before Jason talks us through the route, let's also consider the flight altitudes for each of our legs. Let us look at the initial route first. Heading westbound from the point east towards Whale Lake, we find terrain rising to almost 5,000 feet. However, the mean ground level at the beginning of this leg is closer to 3,500 feet. So let us pick 4,500 feet as our initial altitude. This will allow better views of the ground features and will thread the peaks at the end of the leg. Here is another trick. Clicking on the waypoint for point east, we can click Edit and then add the planned altitude in the Notes section. This allows us to pick it up during the flight for easy reference. Let's pan further eastwards. Passing Whale Lake towards Egg Lakes and then towards Forgensee, we can see that we pass north of the high terrain as intended. So let us still maintain 4,500 feet throughout. However, after Forgensee, we'll pass in between our twin peaks and the terrain here is rising to over 6,000 feet, with the peaks over 7,000 feet high. Let's zoom in and make sure we do this properly. We can pass between the highest terrain, but we should have close to 1,000 feet clearance to the valley floor. And we can see that the floor is at around 5,000 feet, so let's climb to 7,000 feet for good measure. I'll add this in the note section once again. I'll do this on the point Forgensee, as this is where we will begin our climb. Our next leg to Wachensee has the same 6,000 feet high terrain, so let's maintain altitude on this leg. As we turn southbound into the Alps, an interesting thing happens. The valley floor is approximately 3,000 to 4,000 feet, but the peaks surrounding it are upwards to 8,000 feet. To be able to navigate well and to enjoy the scenery, we can choose to fly inside the valley. Let's descend down to 5,500 feet here. It will be amazing to pass in between the peaks. We can follow 5,500 feet all the way until we pass November 2 and head to Whiskey 2. Scanning the terrain again, we see that as we pass into the Inn Valley, the ground level drops again down to about 3,000 feet and then further along the route to 2,000 feet. Furthermore, checking the airport information for Innsbruck, we see that the airport is located at 1907 feet. Thus our traffic pattern altitude should be at about 2,900 feet. But the terrain south of Innsbruck is close to 3,000 feet high. We therefore need to maintain higher pattern altitude on downwind. If we aim for 3,500 feet, we'll be fine. We'll have to make sure to descend more on the base leg later, as it will take about 4 minutes to descend from 5,500 feet to 3,500 feet, and considering that we are flying at almost 2 miles per minute, we need to start descending approximately 8 miles before we reach the downwind and the pattern. Looking at the map, we can see that we pass a final ridge before heading into the Inn Valley, right here. Between the ridge and Whiskey 2, we have about 1 mile, then there's another 5 miles to Point India, which amounts to 6 miles. Another 2 miles between India and Mike 3 should be about here. And that looks good, that's on downwind. Thus, we can start descending as soon as we clear this ridgeline right here. From there, we can enjoy the landing in Innsbruck. Now, let's head over to Jason, ready in the plane to prepare you for the practical navigation.
Hello folks, and welcome back. Today, we have a stunning flight in front of us. It's a beautiful day here in the Alps, and we're glad it is. Flying to high mountains like this requires good weather, as fog, low clouds, or precipitation may cause us to fly blind, something which can have dire consequences with such high terrain around us. We also have to consider the wind situation. High winds cause a lot of turbulence around mountain peaks, so severe that planes can momentarily lose control. Furthermore, dangerous descending winds down the mountain slopes can cause the small plane like the Cessna to lose all climbing ability. Mountain flying requires a lot of skill and careful preparations. Thankfully today we have perfect flying conditions. We're going to have fun. All right, let's go through the route. Heading out towards Point East, we perform our departure checklist. One thing we have not mentioned before, but you can select the landing and taxi lights off when we are off on our navigation flights. These lights are mainly used for visibility in the traffic pattern, and it saves on the bulb life if we don't fly with them all the time. I usually select them off when we leave the airport vicinity. Let's start the navigation. Point East is easy to find by overflying the Rhine outflow dikes and cross-fixing it with the peninsula at Lindau. Let's head towards Whale Lake now. We can see the rising terrain here. It's nice that we've selected 4,500 feet after Point East, as this leg overflies quite a lot of forested terrain. It can be difficult to find intermediate fixes. Make sure you set your heading bug on the course. Let's maintain this and check how long we could expect to be on this course. As the leg is quite long, around 20 miles, we could calculate that the Cessna will take about 10 minutes to fly this route. We can already see some of the Alps looming out over the horizon to our right. As we reach our cruising altitude of 4,500 feet, let us perform the cruise checklist. Cruise power is set at 2,300 RPM. We could select higher or lower settings if we wanted to save fuel or time. Different cruise settings are available to choose from in the Academy Cessna 172 user guide. For now, I'll go with 2,300 RPM. Next, you'll notice that the cruise checklists ask for mixture as required. This does not necessarily mean mixture rich. Since we have ascended to our higher altitude, the air up here is thinner and contains less oxygen per unit of volume compared to sea level air. This means that if we keep flying around with maximum fuel richness, there may not be enough oxygen molecules inside the cylinders to fully combust the fuel. I'll teach you the coarse but effective leaning method now. We're going to be using the mixture control knob situated here. We're going to go ahead and start slowly decreasing it by moving it aft. This will be easy to perform if you have your mixture control bound to a sliding axis on your peripheral. Okay, let's begin leaning the mixture. We'll keep an eye on our RPM indicator. We slowly begin reducing the mixture towards a lean position. It is important you do this very slowly. Keep watching that RPM. You'll see the RPM slightly increase. This means combustion efficiency is increasing. Keep slowly leaning the mixture until you hit peak RPM and it starts dropping again. The peak RPM is the spot where oxygen and fuel molecules are at the perfect balance. However, operating at peak can cause the engine to overheat slightly. Thus, give the mixture a slight push towards the rich side. Great, mixture is leaned, thus checklist is complete. Remember, we may have to lean again if we climb higher. Let's return to the navigation flight. Compared to last time, flying over this area presents a greater challenges. Here are some of my suggestions for the route up to the entry into the Alps. First, make use of the shapes of the forested areas shown on the map. This large forested area rising up on the slope is distinct. We can also see a town to our left. Looking at the map, my take is that this is forest and the town is Lindenberg and Allgäu. That means we're on the right path. Second, keep using time as a reference. Here, I've been flying our lag for about 7 minutes. We're coming in over another town, and we can see rising terrain ahead. Looking at the map, we could be over this town. It makes sense, as we should be about here after 7 minutes of flying at cruise speed. To confirm, I look over my cowling, and I can actually see a valley to my right and a lake at the end of it. That matches the map perfectly. Third, here's a mountain flying trick. We don't have to follow the route perfectly. It'd be a lot safer to turn slightly right here and follow the valley down towards Whale Lake, rather than overflying the highest peaks on the north side of the valley. Let's turn and cruise down towards the lake. Whale Lake looks beautiful, almost like a mirror, telling us that wind is calm today. Okay, all is good so far. Let's turn slightly left now and head further east towards Egg Lake. These lakes are small, so we can't really see them from here, but there are several distinct features visible ahead. Can you see this mountain ridge and the lake to the left? Checking the map, we can see a ridge stretching across the route. It looks like we should pass the ridge's southernmost edge, and just over it, we should see a lake. Let's head over there. Passing the ridge, we see a large lake to the left. That's got to be this one. Looking ahead again, we spot another lake over the next ridge. Nice. That is definitely this lake, which we should pass on the southern tip. We're on our way to Egg Lakes, all right. It's always important to confirm each navigation point by cross-fixing it. Here's a town located just west of the lake we're tracking towards. Is that on the chart? Looking down? Yeah, I could see it right here. That's confirmation for us. And there's Egg Lake. No doubt about that one. Next up, the large lake Forgensee. Looking ahead, we already see it from here. At least we're quite sure it should be out there. We'll turn on our course and confirm it as we get closer. We can now see the mountains that we're going to head into on the next leg. We'll mentally prepare to climb as we approach Forgensee. Checking the waypoint and the notes I have put there earlier, I cross-check the altitude I'm going to climb to. Coming closer to Forgensee, we can see the two lakes leading up to it. No doubt, here we are. Here's something to look out for on your flight. Down to our right, you'll find one of the most famous castles in the world. This is Castle Neuschwanstein, a 19th century fortification built on a hilltop for King Ludwig II. It is said to be the inspiration for the famous Disney castle. We'll now focus on the climb. As the terrain rises rapidly ahead, we know the drill by now. Full power, right rudder, and get that nose pitch to the climb attitude. Visually confirming mountain peaks by shape can be pretty tricky. It is better to look further and try to see the mountain ranges. To our right, we should see even higher mountains, and to our left, there should be only lower terrain. We could confirm this. Here's the mountains on the left, and here's the range on the right. Let's pass between Twin Peaks here. As we come closer, we see that Twin Peaks may have been a misnomer. Many peaks have been a better name. Let's fly through the lowest point on the ridge right here. Once we're level on our new altitude, let's perform a quick leaning of the mixture again. There we go. Look at that valley ahead. That's so pretty, with the river snaking down eastwards. As we come closer to our next waypoint, this ridge looks high. Checking the map, we find the peaks up to 6,700 feet. Let's thread this needle by going around slightly to the left, following the mountain pass over here. We can now see a lake ahead of us. Checking the map again, that should be watch and see. It's finally time to head southbound and into the Alps. We're not too far from Innsbruck now. Let's also descend down to 5,500 feet as we decided when planning the flight. We can refer to the notes again to check this. Now is a good time to start on the descent checklists. We've started our initial descent and we'll be in Innsbruck soon. All right, here we go. Mixture. Let's increase it halfway to full ridge. We're still high and benefit from somewhat lean mixture. It'll be set to full ridge before the landing checklist is done. Altimeters. We need to check the local pressure at Innsbruck. This is available in the Navigraph Charts. However, this only works if you're flying with live weather. If you're not using live weather, go to the in-game weather panel and check the selected pressure. We find it right here. Set this up on both altimeters. Here we go. Main altimeter. Standby altimeter. Approach procedure. All right, let's brief it. Joining Point India, we will turn downwind. The airport will be visible on our left side. We'll make sure to make a good parallel distance as we have rising terrain on the opposite side of the runway and want to avoid an overshoot on the base leg. We'll aim to be 3,500 feet and level just after India. Point Mike is on our base leg point. It's just located after the big intersection of roads here. Innsbruck is a new airport for us. Let's therefore quickly check where we should be going after landing. Zooming in, we can see that the terminal and the control tower is on the south side. The general aviation parking is on the north side. We'll park by the hangars, and it seems to be taxiway Zulu for us. Zulu is quite close to the touchdown point for runway 26, so we may need to have to do a turnaround on the runway and do a short backtrack. All right, good brief, checklist complete. Let's continue our flight and pay attention to the terrain. Our course is almost due southbound, and we can see a valley ahead of us. Rotating the chart to the new direction of flight, it would make sense that the valley is on our way into Innsbruck. We can see this mountain on the chart here. And on the other side, we could detect this mountain range as well. We should be able to see this town as well, and there it is. Here's a word of caution. In this location, it would be easy to make a mistake and follow the rightmost valley. It could prove difficult to reverse that decision, especially as we're flying below the mountain peak height. Turning around in valleys is not recommended, as the turn radius may be larger than there is available elbow space. Do not attempt to turn around before climbing to safe altitude. Today, we'll stay ahead of the game and make sure we always enter the correct valleys. As we enter the valley, let's not follow the planned course strictly. Instead, we're going to follow the valley's snaking direction on a sort of southbound route. We'll try to keep as much distance to the peaks as possible while enjoying the breathtaking views. November 1st is coming up. It's located in the small town at the bend of the valley. There it is. We can see the road turning to the right, then continuing southwards. We can already see the next town further down the valley where we should find November 2. And here's the next town. You can even see the little lake at the southern end of it. Nice. All right, passing the town, it's soon time to start descending. We'll have to cross this ridge first as it stretches up to 4,900 feet. Once across, we'll begin our descent towards 3,500 feet. Okay, let's focus on Whiskey 2. It's not that easy to find. The best way to find it is to look for the bridge across the Inn River. There it is. Now we have time to take in the view. We're in the Inn Valley properly now, and looking left, we see the Inn River. Innsbruck is just around the corner. Point India is located on the south side of the valley. Here, you may find it difficult to spot the exact location and position, and things move pretty fast too. My advice is to look for this large forested mountain on the chart, as you can see here. You can also use the river and the forest running in the middle of the valley as references. India is on the right side, after passing the edge of the mountain. As we come closer, we can see the airport on our left. Nice. The town associated with India is visible now. We could cross-fix it by checking if we could see the winding road going up the mountainside. There it is. Let's turn downwind. It's time to do the before landing checklist. Fuel selector both, mixture rich, landing lights on, taxi light on, autopilot off. I checked the parallel distance. We're looking good. Time for flaps. We'll continue on downwind until overhead point Mike. Mike is just after these large road intersections we've talked about on the approach briefing. I can see it now on the edge of this forest. Let's turn base, right over the city here. Flaps 20. Coming up on final. Nice job. Flaps 30. We're looking pretty good here. What a view out there. Look at that mountain on the right. All right, here we are in the flare. Touchdown. Gentle braking now. I don't have to go too hard. We're going to land and turn around and let's back taxi on the runway. Here's Zulu. Let's turn off the runway and do our after landing flow. Flaps are up. Strobe lights are off. Great. What a flight. I hope you're looking forward to your own trip.
And now it's your turn. Your first step is to plan the route in Navigraph Charts and then mentally rehearse the flight. This will be a really magnificent trip and you will enjoy every minute of it. If you have enjoyed this briefing and this navigation guide, remember that the whole world is represented in flight simulators, as well as in Navigraph Charts, where worldwide coverage is offered. You can go anywhere whenever you like. There are literally tens of thousands of airports and countless breathtaking destinations and routes to choose from, be it in mountains, over great plains, across Great Lakes, or into the largest urban areas on Earth. After completing this lesson, you will have earned all the necessary skills required to plan, navigate, and fly a Cessna in any part of the world. And you can go wherever you want to go. As always, you can get flying right now over at the Academy website. There you will find an easy way to load this flight into your simulator. Good luck, aviator, and we will see you up there.